When I first started 6 years ago, or even 10 years ago when I started in HBO, there was nothing. There was just bachelors. But how do you do research with only bachelors? And then I said, we need more. We need an integrated volume of teaching. If I look back in my inaugural speech from 2016, I promised to bring a lab, I promised to bring a master, and to start teaching the first PhDs and all integrate them. And I think that worked out pretty good. I think the master is essential for HVA, but also for HBO in general. I don't believe in, let's say, the difference between universities and the HBO. I think they are different, but they should be mutual. And the master is actually the connecting pin in it. It connects research and education. So for instance, it's a place where PhD can also teach. It's also a place where all partners come together, where societal issues are brought in. So it's a context actually, it's not just the master. The masters are an essential key actually between the bachelors and the research department. So you can take them on in your projects. The deeper grounding of the problems is in the research centers, but the design efforts and the teaching and the making is in the master. The finest hours was actually when we had our accreditation. Because, you know, it's something, you have to be a competitor with all the other design departments and you have to find your own place in this field. Play to me is not only efficiency. Actually, I hate to be efficient. I believe in meaning, and sometimes I make a joke about we should have more meaningful inefficiencies. You have to understand the society, you have to understand the cultural background, and that's not efficient. No, you should be playing around with it to understand it. It should take its own lead, and I strongly believe in context. So it should be responsive, for instance, to societal problems. It should also understand where its cultural values is. So the dramatities or the interactions in real life are very important. If you take that to a more practical point of view, you could see that we, for instance, make a master where you can pick and choose your own courses. And I think the master can scale up, and that's going to happen next year, from 24 to 48 students, which is really great. It's important for the digital designer to be transdisciplinary. I think the digital designer should understand it's not only digital anymore, it's hybrid. In the center, it's something what you might call smart, but smart on itself is not interesting. So if you think about the smart city, that itself is not interesting. But if you think about the smart citizen, then it becomes much more interesting. I think the digital and designer should understand the user in its habitat. If it's open, I don't know. I mean, I think we are sort of transition. Design has a promise in it, but it has not fulfilled its promise. And I think in order to do that, it should have more grounding. So phone, for instance, is just a thing, but how do you use it? And what kind of consequences does it have as a society? So we should be understanding better what the consequences are before we design the next generation of these applications. And that's something we like to do in the master. To see a student graduate is very rewarding. I mean, that's something you put a lot of energy in it. The last day of the year, where the students come up and receive their diploma, and where you put your signature in, is very special. But it's also the first day, actually, where you see them newly and fresh, and then you see them come up with questions. Actually, the fact that it gets 250 new students that want to apply, while we only can admit 24 students, that's also something where I'm really proud of. I'm still a year at HVA, and it could be even longer, but actually I have new tasks to do. I'm asked to make the foundations for the graduate school, so what will happen if we make another master and another master and another master and put this in a graduate school. That's one thing. The other thing is I have 2 books I'm writing at this moment, and which I didn't have time. And there's still my own studio. I started painting again, so I think I will need a lot of time more to do what I want to do still.